Welcome to our channel. Our topic today will be dealing with the causes of anxiety. Last time we spoke about anxiety very extensively. So today we are going to briefly look at some causes of anxiety. Anxiety, like we said in our previous video, is one of the greatest phenomenon that touches every living being. So it's important, therefore, that we know what causes it and also know the symptoms of it, because in the Bible we are told by the Lord himself and also by certain writers such as Apostle Paul not to worry about anything or not to be anxious about anything. So there is danger in allowing situation to cause anxieties. So here we are going to look at some of the causes of anxieties which really can be avoided. Okay, so here we are. The cause of anxiety are many. Like I said in our previous video, it can be a result of unconscious intrapsychic conflicts. In other words, the cause of anxiety, it could be something which is conflicting in your mind, something that actually seems to be fighting with something else in your mind. So it's very important, therefore, to understand that one of the causes of anxiety, it could be unconscious intrapsychic conflicts. In other words, you don't have to think about whatever it is that might be causing anxiety, but it just happened because some of us were raised that way. We grew up in such environment where anxiety was common, and our people whom we looked up to dealt with anxiety. It might have created certain things in us as well, having grown up in that environment, as how we deal with anxiety, what causes anxiety, and also how does it affect you as a human being. So also anxiety, as you look at the cause of it, it can be learned by example. If you grew up in an environment where anxiety was prevailing and people sometimes reacted in a way that's bizarre, sometimes in a way which is unhealthy, all right? So you tend to, as a child, to adopt such as well. Also, it's very, very important that you know that anxiety can come from childhood conflicts. As children growing up, we have so many things that we experience as children that actually in our adult age tend to create conflicts. Conflicts that you don't even know where they stem from, where they come from. But you may find that they come as a result of your conflict as a child growing up in such environment where anxiety was prevalent. It can come from present day situational problems. It could be something which you are facing today. It can come from being anxious about being anxious. Yes, there are people who are just anxious but because of afraid of being anxious. And also it can come from fears of inferiority. It could be poverty or poor health as well. So in early childhood, all of us have experienced that great anxious or anxiety. So when an individual has a particular stressful childhood with many bad experiences, that person will suffer a great deal of anxiety in their adult age. With many bad experiences, he suffers or she suffers a great deal of anxiety. So much of this anxiety is not dealt with it at the time it appears, but is repressed into what we call subconscious mind. In other words, we take it to a place where things are stored. In other words, things that we don't deal with at the moment, we tend to push them into subconscious mind. So earlier in our previous session, we did talk about certain things which were found by Dr. Penfield. Dr. Penfield actually was quoted by Frank and also Dr. Paul in their book, which is called Happiness is a Choice. He was a surgeon who found that a brain functions in much the same manner as a high fidelity tape recorder. In other words, if you look at the brain, it operates like a tape recorder. Some of us who grew up maybe back in the 80s, 90s, you remember tape recorder, all right? So it functions like a tape recorder. So it functions to speak like a computer as well, with many bank memories. So if you look at our computer system today, it has memory or memories. So our brain sometimes functions like a computer that has many bank memories. So Dr. Penfield also found that when he touched certain areas of the brain with electrodes, an individual will sometimes remember specific events. Sometimes he will also remember the feeling that occurred with those events, and sometimes he will just recall a feeling such as elation or even depression without any specific recollection of the event. So this happens to most of us, if not all of us. So Dr. Penfield, the neurosurgeon, as he worked with his clients, look at the brain, sometimes he will touch with electrodes some part of the brain, and he found that when he touched a particular part of the brain, that part is able to recall a particular feeling. That feeling could be anger, could be sadness, could be happiness, but really without recalling the event itself or what has caused that particular feeling. So this is what happened to all of us in terms of storing in our subconscious mind all the events, bad or good, during our childhood. Even today, we continue to do so as long as we're alive. Most events that we experience, if we don't deal with them, normally they're stored, in other words, they're deposited into our subconscious mind. Okay? So that's why sometimes Dr. Penfield, when he touched with the electrodes, a particular part of your brain, that brain will recall those particular feelings, such as elation. It could be also depression, without any specific recollection of what actually brought about this particular feeling. All right. So from this, Penfield concluded that the specific memories and emotions are recorded and stored as well in our subconscious mind, and that they can be replayed today as a vivid, as a form as when they occurred. In other words, when those memories are stored in our subconscious mind, they can be triggered by a particular event. It could be something which was said or something that you saw. It could be also a smell that can take you back into the event itself. All right? So remember that those things are stored in your subconscious mind. So in other words, when something happened that reminds you of the time when the event occurred, all right, it will come and it will somehow exhibit itself in your brain as if it was happening now. So we need to understand that actually whatever is that we sometimes trigger or is triggered in us, yes, it might be something happened in the past, sometime many years ago. So what you need to understand is it's not happening now. So people need to understand that triggers are there. So when something painful is triggered, you need to understand that it's not happening to you now. It's something which happened in the past that maybe you might not have dealt with it in a way that actually brings about moving on in life, focusing also in the future. So they are aroused, talk about those memories which are stored in our subconscious mind. They are aroused by current day stress. So our current day stress, whatever it is we stress about, they're able to arouse, to go to subconscious mind and bring up whatever that event that has happened in the past. So when an individual encounters current day situations and experiences that cause anxiety, this anxiety from his early or her early childhood is also aroused. So in most cases, it is emotions from childhood which are aroused. So the specific event usually is not even remembered or even recalled, but what normally comes up, it is the feeling or the emotion that you felt at that time when a particular thing had happened to you. So the repressed emotions seem to apply to the current day, although they really do not occurring now. In other words, so those emotions somehow apply to a current day, whatever is that you're facing today. But to find that actually those emotions has nothing to do with what is happening today, is something that actually happened in the past. So it's very, very important for one to be able to understand that. So at least not in the proportion to which are being experienced. So in other words, when you remember something or something is triggered, you'll experience a particular emotion because something has happened now. So you need to understand that you are not experiencing it now, whatever that is, by something that happened in the past. So what you can do actually is to decide whether you entertain the memory or somehow you're able to deal with it and also try to leave it in the past. Past must be left in the past because past cannot be actually be dealt with it today. Yes, you can learn from our past experiences, but you cannot go back and fix or change anything. But you can learn today to be a better person, maybe not to repeat whatever is that might have happened in the past, and hope that future is going to be bright, future is going to be great. So it's important, therefore, to understand that we also tend to react not only to the current day stresses, but also to the repressed emotions of childhood. So today, as an adult person, sometimes you tend to react to certain emotions, which have nothing to do with what you're going through today, but they have to do with what have happened to you in the past, maybe in your childhood as well, which you will not be able to deal with it. So also, we need to understand that anxiety from the current situation may be partially repressed into the subconscious. Yes, some of the events we experience today, we might try to repress them, all right, partially, and we deposit them into your subconscious mind. And when they get there, they'll stay there for many years, sometimes for a lifetime. So what happens is that they will sometimes waiting for the trigger, something to go back into subconscious mind and pick up whatever that event or whatever that experience and begin to worry about it, begin to be anxious about today as if it's happening today. So past is a past. So what you need to do, learn from the past, focus on today and hope for tomorrow that things will be better because God is eternal. God cares about you. God cares about everything about that happens in your life. So you are not alone. So choose to be with God and choose to walk with Him and choose to worship Him, because when you do so, He's always there with you. So anxiety from the current situations, also need to remember, they may also somehow be prevented, okay? Because what anxiety does, sometimes it creates phobias. It creates more and more stress and also worry to the point where we become obsessed by worrying. There are people just obsessed by worrying. They just want to worry all the time. So that will not do anything good, but it's going to harm them because they'll be consciously somehow allowing themselves to go into a place where they're not supposed to go mentally, instead of giving everything to God, because God tells us He cares about us. As Peter reminds us in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, that we need to cast all our anxiety. We need to throw away as far as possible our anxiety, whatever it is that worries us, to God, because God cares. So may God bless you as we go through life and understand the cause of anxiety and also the effect of anxiety, what it will do to you. So focus on the present and hope for the future and learn from the past. Avoid things that will make you worry. Things will make you somehow anxious, which may result in phobias or fears and also depression. Take care of yourself. Please remember to subscribe this video. Thank you so much. See you next time.